Welcome back to The Pulse. Now, there are fervent preparations underway to begin construction of the National Cathedral here in Accra. So far, demolition exercises have taken place whilst other occupants of the land at Ridge have been relocated. All that encountered controversy and divided the country along party lines. But during his budget presentation last month, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta announced that procurement processes will be completed this year for a smooth takeoff in March. On the show today, Secretary to the Board of Trustees, Reverend Victor Kusi Boateng, takes your questions as preparations are wrapped up for the start of the project. Reverend, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, my brother, for having me.
Take us to what has been done so far since the announcement about this cathedral began.
I think it was in 2017 that the Board of Trustees were commissioned we were given 3 mandates. The first mandate was to mobilize funds into the building of the cathedral, to see to the construction of the cathedral, and after its construction, to see to the management of the cathedral. These 3 mandates were given to us. Unfortunately for us, we had no model with which to follow. So every single thing had to be set up by ourselves. The financial models, the constructional models, the procurement models, even the legalities and the constitutionalities of the trusteeship and all that, because this was the first of its kind. So a lot of work has been done over the past 3 years, and I'm happy to say we are very close, and by the early of next year, work should begin, construction should begin with the National Cathedral.
We've seen 2 fundraising ceremonies take place, one to launch and another proper fundraising. How successful were they and how much was raised?
Both fundraisings were launched. The first one in Ghana, here in Accra. The second one was also a launch of the fundraising in the US. The whole drive was not to raise a lot of monies, but was to sensitize the people about the importance of contributing to the National Cathedral. It was after which the models and the systems of the fundraisings will have to be set up, which of course we are very close to getting our platforms for people to contribute through electronic means and all that. So we launched both fundraisings here in Ghana and the United States of America, and we are trying to do same in other regions and in other countries.
And so far, the funds have been coming in?
Sure. The funds have been coming in, and by the grace of God, very competent accountancy firms are in charge, and auditing firms are controlling the accounts. Because if you know who the trustees are, they are very credible people, from the chairman who used to be the chairman of the Methodist Church, Bishop Asante Ntwi, Archbishop Palmer Bakal, Bishop Darkhold Mills, Archbishop Awatwe Pratt, Bishop Akrofi, Bishop Mate, Professor Frempong Manson. These are very credible people. And so we believe in credibility, and so we are setting the right structures for the right people and for the right things to be done as far as the cathedral and its financial issues are concerned.
How much has been raised so far?
So far, like I said, because the models are not all ready and we are not in full force in terms of raising of funds, it will be quite it will not be right for me to tell how much it is, which of course I don't even have it on my table. It has to go through the auditing systems very well, and then all the structures will have to be put together, after which we can come up with all the figures. But it's a very transparent system, and every one of you and us are going to have access to how much was raised and from where every CD and dollar were raised from.
Well, of course, this is a conversation that involves you as well. So you can bring in your WhatsApp messages to the number at the bottom of your screen. And we would ask Reverend Victor Kusi Boateng, the Secretary to the Board of Trustees for the National Cathedral, your questions. So the Finance Minister, Reverend, announced that some amounts will be donated by government, some 20 million, beyond the land that is being given by government. Have you received that money?
It's a promise, but you know, there are a lot of things to do to assess things from the government. So we are in the process. The government, like the finance minister himself said, he wasn't really certain as whether it was going to be 20 million or 10 million, but he said it will be in the ranges. They were thinking about either 10 or 20. Whatever amount the government gives to us, we will appreciate it. But the bottom line is that whether the government supports us or not, the trustees are resolute. They believe that this is a good cause. And so whether the government supports us or not, we are resolute and we are believing God that we'll have the people support us. Nations are ready to support us. Individuals are ready to support us. Institutions are ready to support us. And we are ready to roll.
Speaking of ready to roll, the question of where the cathedral will be sited has come up. It came up earlier when the judges' structures were being demolished, and a second time when the passport office was going to be relocated for $9.2 million. Now,
9.2 million cedis.
9.2 million. So some members of parliament have been mentioning that this is not a prudent use of resources. What's your reaction?
It will be quite unfair for anybody to label it as an imprudent way of utilizing finances, because Christians are almost 70 to 75% of this national population. And so if anything is being done to the benefit of the Christian body, I think it will be unfair for any individual or any person to say it wasn't prudent. Why is it so? Because I'm not a fan of boxing, but if a boxing arena is being built for a section of Ghanaians to have fulfillment and satisfaction, I don't get up to say it was imprudent because they are citizens of the nation. If something is being done for a section of 75% of the Ghanaian populace to benefit, and somebody says it was imprudent, I personally don't get why it should be termed as such. Because Christians are 75%, and we can never underestimate the input of the Christian body in this nation. None of us can dispute it. Almost all the best schools in this nation were built by Christians. Almost all the best hospitals. You can look at even the infrastructural developments of the churches. Look at the kind of infrastructures Pentecost has, the infrastructures the Catholic Church has, the infrastructures the Methodist Church has, without no recourse to IMF loans and World Bank loans and all that. Christians have been able to do what we've been able to do. So in a way, if the government is saying we are being compensated for even for the National Cathedral, it will be very unfair. When this nation can spend millions of dollars in building sports stadiums, I don't play soccer, but I don't fight it.
So the question that comes there is that sports stadiums bring revenue to the country. Will the cathedral do so?
As much as we are building it to the glory of God, it will amaze you to know that when we open up the models, the generations, the economic benefits the nation will get far outweighs all the sports stadiums in Ghana put together.
You mentioned that the Board of Trustees will manage the facility. Does it mean that these monies that are going to be accrued from there will come to government?
It is technically coming to the government, apart from what may have to be reserved for the upkeep of the place. Every dime that will be generated out of the cathedral ends up in the government's coffers. My brother, let me give you this analysis. The government uses $100 million to build a sports stadium, after which all the generations, some end up being white elephants in a way, but I won't touch on it. He uses $100 million to build a sports stadium. All the monies are given back to the nation, right? Then the government wants to build a cathedral, which is going to generate more money than the stadium. And yet he says, I'll just give you seed money. Go and find monies and build it. And yet when we finish building it, as much as all the monies in the sports stadium gets into the government coffers, the monies from the cathedral doesn't end up with the trustees, it ends up in the government coffers.
When you say monies from the cathedral, will you be charging persons to enter the cathedral and use its premises?
We are building the models, but I will not be surprised if that is how it ends, because when you go to great cathedrals in the world, I've been to a couple of those places, you are charged tokens. Besides what the tourists bring in, the amount of money the tourists are going to spend, all of us realized that there was a fire outbreak in a cathedral in Paris, the Notre Dame Cathedral. As we talk, in less than 2 months, people have given 1.3 billion euros to support in the reconstruction of that cathedral. Why? Because they realize that almost every month, more than 1.5 million people visit the cathedral. The economic impact it makes, besides the fact that they were built to the glory of God, it also has an economic impact that can never be underestimated.
So we asked for your text messages, and you're sending in this one. Is it good to build? It's good to build a cathedral, but why pull down existing structures? Can't you build it in other regions? There's also another question. Is Rev happy raising money to destroy judges' houses and construct cathedrals whilst his church members are suffering? Can we address the question?
Oh, we could. If only you want to do something worth doing, you've got to be ready to go through sacrifices. Considering the kind of benefits the nation will receive, at the end of the day, if 10 buildings are pulled down, and at the end of the day, the nation is going to cash in millions of dollars, why do we complain about the buildings that are going down? Because it is not just the cathedral that comes with the pulling down of buildings. Roads, when they are being constructed, come with the pulling down of buildings. Does it mean that the minister was insensitive? No. But if you look to the benefits and the cost analysis, it then becomes very prudent to sacrifice in a way so that you could execute your plan for the benefits to come for the whole nation to enjoy. So
some would say that the roads don't pass through buildings that were just renovated. Some of the judges' homes had been renovated not too long before they were pulled down. And then there's of course our passport office, which is a key installation at Ridge.
Looking to the location, the trustees, like I said, are very sensitive and realistic people. These are people that have led huge organizations. They understand the burdens of the people, and they understand the mandate that has been given to them. We really, really have to sit down and to dissect this decision of the location. And when we all arrived at the decision with the president, we then saw the need that as much as that is the location, we have to put it up. It is worthwhile counting the cost for now, because at the end of the day, if it is in the prime area like it's going to be, the benefits, if you have $1 million to invest in a business, you will have an option to buy a car, to build a house, but you can decide to invest it in the business because you know that in 2-3 years, the business can get you the car and the business can get you the house. So if you look at the conditions pertaining to this particular cathedral and the location, I think that the government felt that if we invest in such a project within such a location and sacrifice with 11 buildings, for your information, it was about 4 or 5 buildings that were renovated. It was for the rest were all 80-year-old buildings, 70-year-old buildings.
But monies were spent to renovate the buildings.
Yes, but monies are also going to be generated out of it, besides the fact that it's going to be built to the glory of God.
So have we done any analysis to see that this will be the benefit, that some would call it a cost-benefit analysis?
A lot. Besides the tourism boost, we have the main auditorium can take up to 5,000. We will open up to 20,000. You and I know it is in our concept, it is in our project book, that is where presidents are going to be sworn in if they are Christians and they want to be sworn in there. You and I know where the president was sworn in the event that there was rain, it will have been disastrous. There is no enclosed place that can take more than 1,500 people. The biggest place here in Accra is the International Conference Center. When the past UN Secretary General passed, that is where he was laid in state. And
well, there are a number of other structures, but they may not be state structures, but there are a number of structures, yes.
And that is why the state want to have something that they can call their own, that can cash in a lot. Because when I remember Ghana at 60, when I brought in Darlene Check and Sinash and all that, I had to rent a private place that cost us so much money. All these monies, we have spaces, we have a music school, we have state-of-the-art Bible museum. We are in coordination with the Bible Museum in America. They are ready to share artifacts and concepts and all that with us. In fact, we are receiving into this country the brain behind the construction of the Bible Museum. On Thursday, he's coming as a consultant, coming to help us build the structures well so that we can be able, as much as we are building it to the glory of God, we also want it to be economically viable so that the nation benefits.
Kusi Boateng from Adanse Brofuyedu, Mr. Host, ask Reverend that after building a national cathedral, should we build a national shrine?
It's quite unfortunate to consider a national cathedral in line with a shrine. I cannot speak for the traditionalists, but if they have also made the impact that Christians have made, they have the way to come and argue it out. If you look at the impact, if you look at even employment alone within the churches, look at how many people Pentecost employs, from the clergy to the administrative structures to their security to their cleaners. From Pentecost go to Methodist, go even the staff I control in my institution. In fact, when you put it together, we far outrun the private sector. So the churches and its impact and its influence can never be underestimated. So it will be very unfair when you are comparing the traditionalists to
you feel the traditionalists have not made as much of a contribution or impact to national development?
I am yet to see one, but if they have, they should just come and argue their way out. I cannot speak for them. I can only speak for the church.
My prayer is that a new government will come to power and halt a so-called building because we don't have schools and money to pay those causing demonstrations every day. We don't need it.
And yet we are able to fly out millions of dollars to go and give it to footballers. Yet we don't have schools. We have monies to pay coaches. We have monies to pay footballers. We have monies to build boxing arenas, and nobody complains. Is it because it is a Christian project? I think it is unfair to make such statements.
So if a new government came to power and the new government did a U-turn on this, what would be your reaction?
I think that we are not just, it is not just because the president uses executive powers to initiate this concept. We are doing everything, and we are at a place where it is now a national project. It is not, the government had the vision, like he had a vision for the free SHS. He had a vision for the NAPCO. It was his vision, but he was able to incorporate it into the national agenda. And so this project might be the president's initiative, but it is a project that is being absorbed by as a national agenda. And that is why...
Have you received assurance from opposition parties that they will support you?
Well, we have gone to ex-President Rawlings, who gave us his blessing. We have officially gone to President John Dramani Mahama, who gave us his blessing. Efforts are in place to meet all the political parties and to officially receive their blessings. So we've been, as much as it was the president's initiative, we've been to ex-president, His Excellency John Dramani's place, and he gave us his blessing. President Rawlings gave us his blessing. So we are trying to cut across every political device, believing that this should be a national project that will bring change and effect economic advancement.
And did they approve the siting of the cathedral where it is now? Did you put that to them?
I think nobody raised an alarm, nobody questioned it. And like I've explained, I think that I believe you've traveled before. There is nowhere in this world that you see a national cathedral hidden. If you do that, it loses its economic relevance and it cannot serve the purpose for which it is served. Secondly, we want to put it at a place where it will be accessible so that if people want to do programs and all that, it will be easy for us. Thirdly, if the government is doing anything, swearing in of government, there is a mausoleum for the burial of presidents and all that, how can you put that in a very far place? You want to put it close to the Parliament House, close to where the government machineries is so that it becomes accessible.
How then do you react to a member of the former president's party saying that a senior member, that is a ranking member of the Foreign Affairs Committee, saying that it's not prudent to site the cathedral where it is because it's results in the demolition of some state buildings?
It's very unfortunate. I don't know who said that, but if I don't know anything, I know that when they were citing the boxing arenas, they pulled a couple of buildings down, and yes, they did it. So if it's a just cause, if the end result will benefit the nation well, and if you consider how much you are spending in relocation and in demolition, the end result will far outweigh it. Why not do it? It makes business sense, it makes political sense, and so I don't know where it's coming from.
Jerry Koyaja at Nkoko wants to ask who is responsible for the funding, and he said, how can one fund it, and is it everyone or an organization that can fund it, and by what means?
Everyone is invited. My brother, your crew is. Nothing is too small and nothing is too big. Everybody is qualified to support this project. It is a project that will end up being a national project. So we are appealing to everyone that can listen to us, whether you're a Christian or a Muslim, a traditionalist, whoever you are, anybody can contribute to this. And that is why we are even appealing to people outside this country, institutions outside this country, and the Christian community and every Ghanaian to that effect.
So on the issue of the National Cathedral, I personally find it as out of foresight as a country. We are in a state where citizens cannot get 3 square meals in a day, as people rather think fulfilling, as people and governments, we don't think of how to create opportunities to better living conditions, but rather think of fulfilling self-promises to God at the expenses of taxpayers. This thought has come that, you know, the president currently in power is trying to fulfill a personal promise to God, and looking at the economic challenges we have, you shouldn't be looking at this.
Every single thing that we see has to be initiated by one man. And the fact that a man initiates it doesn't make it his own. His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo initiated the free SHS, but that does not mean it is his own. Once the person initiates it and it becomes a good venture, why don't you buy into it? I think that people don't also understand that the building of the National Cathedral is going to solve the problems of jobs, the problems of hunger, and the problems of hardships. Right from the time of the construction till when it is finished, until when it is being managed. And like I said, it's very, very, very unfair when such a project is being put up and people are saying, in a nation where people cannot feed themselves 3 square meals a day, and yet there are other projects that in the midst of our hunger, we are still embarking upon them. All of us know that it's been years. The Hajj is being supported by the government and nobody makes any noise about it. Christians have never made any noise about it. They are also Ghanaians, and I think that it is their right if the government sees it prudent to support. And that is why Christians also support it. Nobody has ever stood up to fight against it. And so when it is also time for Christians to be compensated, I think it is unfair. We are also citizens of this nation, and if such a thing is going to be supported, I think it is our right. But the good news is the government is just giving us seed money, and we are going to fight to get the monies to build it, after which the monies come back into supporting the very poor that we are talking about.
You say you are going to fight to get the money. What do you mean?
We are fighting. We are traveling all over. We are traveling all over, nationally, internationally, traveling over to the States, traveling over to other nations, going to other regions, setting up the structures, pleading with people, begging people to support it. That is what I mean by we are fighting for the building.
Your guest keeps comparing economic investments such as sports, etc., to church. These are economic things Jesus whipped out of the church. Danka in Bolgatanga sense this one.
We are not building a church. This is not like the churches I have built, where I have ownership to the church, where no tourists will come there to look at anything. where nobody will come for Bible museum and pay for it and get artifacts and all that. These are two separate things. We've got to understand that we are not building a church. This is a national monument. This is an iconic monument, which of course at the end of the day will benefit the nation. And the nation, besides the fact that it's going to cash in from this project, the nation, is it not the nation that built the art center? Is it not the nation that built the art center? I've never walked into the art center. But at least it benefited people who are interested in all that. Is it not the nation that built the International Conference Center? It is the nation. Why is it that at this time that we are building a similar thing? Is it because Christianity is connected to this that it has become a problem? I think it is a
Is that what you suspect, that because it's connected to Christianity?
I don't know. I can't tell.
A number of the people who are sending the messages are quoting scriptures, and they are making overtures like they're Christians themselves.
That I can't tell. But given the examples I'm giving, I think that you bear with me that it is a good cause.
It's a failure comparing football and sports to this cathedral building. God loves where there is peace and solidarity. I wish the president would call off this project too. So here he's talking about how there's no peace around the project.
I think that people are not really understanding me. I'm not comparing sports to the cathedral. I'm a Ghanaian. I'm a citizen. I have workers. I have staff. I contribute to the national treasury. I don't go to the sports stadium. I don't benefit when a sports stadium is built. Where I will benefit from is a cathedral. That is where I may be able to host programs and also go for programs. And being a Christian does not disqualify me as a Ghanaian citizen from enjoying from the Ghanaian treasury. So I'm not comparing both. What I mean is that if a Ghanaian is sports loving and they are being given sports stadiums, I don't contest it. Thank God. I'm also a Christian who doesn't go to the sports stadium, but I will go to the cathedral. Why can't I be satisfied? Why is it that when the nation is also supporting for me to be well consolidated, it's become a challenge and a problem?
So the question he raised earlier was also about peace. God loves peace and solidarity. This seems to have generated some controversy. For the sake of that, would you reconsider?
I think every good thing this nation has ever embarked on has been surrounded with controversy. Free SHS, a very good venture, but look at the controversy that preceded it, the controversy around it. Does it mean that this vision had to be dropped? NAPCO, a lot of controversies. Does it mean it has to be dropped? Even the building of the airports, the Terminal 3, came up with a lot of controversies. So as a nation, we don't have the same mind and the same brain. So once a nation and a government picks up a project, it can never sail through peacefully. It will definitely go through storms, but that is not to say it has to be dropped.
So a question here has come about if all Christians agree to the building of the cathedral. You mentioned that Christians are 70%. Do all the Christians agree?
I don't know if all Christians agree, but with where I stand, I know that majority of Christians do agree. For where I sit and for where I stand, I know that majority of believers agree to this project.
Right. Reverend J.O. Ajimang of his Kingdom of Life Mission International agrees. He says, my spirit is full of joy, but my deepest concern is who are those going to take care of this most sacred temple? And again, who will be the Lord of a sacred temple after it has been built and opened?
We are, like I said, there were no models that we were following. Everything is being set up by ourselves. So we are at the place where we're trying to raise the funds, where the construction is being made. There are proposals on the table, either to rotate it denominationally, as who the bishops will be. There are a lot of proposals on there. We've not gotten there yet. But as credible as the trustees are, I want to assure every Ghanaian that this project will be put into the right hands for the right management to take over.
So you made a statement earlier saying that the National Cathedral is not Power Chapel, it's not a church.
No.
Yes, and this statement seems to be generating some questions from my listeners. So he's saying that, is he saying the National Cathedral is not a church? It's a church. And he seems to think that because other facilities are on there, it's being made into a market.
It's being made
into a market.
No, it's not.
His word is it's a church and they're making markets with it. Those are his words, actually.
No. I think it's a wrong concept. It's a cathedral. As much as a cathedral, this is not the only cathedral that is built. There are cathedrals all over the world. And if you go as a tourist, you pay to go in and to see whatever is done and the secretness of the whole environment. Some people go there to buy books, they go to eat, they go to pay things, not because it is being commercialized, but it has to be paid for so that the place could be kept and the place could be upheld in a good state. That is not to say it's being set up as a marketplace, no.
So the finance minister announced that the construction will begin in March 2020.
Sure.
Okay. And all work is being done to ensure that
sure.
How far along are we?
It's a lot of work, lot of work, from procurement to getting contractors. It's a lot of work. And I want to take this medium to really congratulate all the trustees and their selfless contribution to this job. We are I don't know of other bodies, but we are the only trusteeship that doesn't sit down when we get per diems, we get travel allowance, we get fuel. I travel to Accra twice, 3, 4 times every week on my own, from my own pocket. I live in the hotels myself. I've never seen a body that is so resolute than the trustees, who are ready to do things for God and to sacrifice to see this work done. And so they are very committed and they are doing a sacrificial job. I want to use this medium to congratulate my chairman, the vice chairman, and all the people that are on the board working with me. So
when the work begins in March, how long will it take to complete?
We are trusting God that within 5 years it should be done.
So it will take 5 years. Okay. Are we going to... Okay, so as Christians, all Christians do not need to agree before the National Cathedral to be built. You're answering my question. He says that so far as it's the glory of the Lord, I will support it. I urge all well-meaning Ghanaians to support this cause. Azira from Yape. The number is on the bottom of your screen. You can send in as many messages as you can. The Christian religion is full of so many different churches. So who is taking charge? Because what belongs to everyone belongs to no one. Can we address that?
Oh, I think that it's very simple. We have the board of trustees, and they are from different denominations, very eminent people, credible people, and we are putting together all the structures to manage it, all the structures to roll it, and all the structures to have it constructed. So it is still a property of the government. Like let's say the government owns an arena. It has a board that oversees the management of the arena. It's the same thing. The government is going to own the cathedral, but there is a trustees that will be put into charge, that will be responsible to managing the place and to organize
so
it.
Duncan sends another one. He says it's official. The cathedral is going to be a commercial entity once there shall be an exchange of cash and services. It doesn't matter where it is in the world once money changes hands. Please, Daniel. Find out from the Rev, is there any price to pay the donors of funds physically or spiritually in the future by any Ghanaian? David from Akache sends this one.
I think that everything we do for ourselves ends with us, but what we do for God and for eternity go beyond us. The best thing one can do is to, you see, what makes Israel Israel is their contribution to building a temple for God and investing in the land that they have now, and that is what makes them. Their forefathers are dead and gone, but for whatever they invested in their land, in their temple, is what is speaking for them. There are most of us that have built houses for ourselves and for our children. When we are dead and gone, the things we did for ourselves cannot speak for us. But when we are able to support this work and help build a temple for God, I believe that posterity will call us blessed, and our children shall live to have the blessings thereof. And that is why America didn't start building cathedrals when it became America. Some of their cathedrals are 300 years when they were not this powerful. That is why England put it as part of their constructional measures in building their nation. That is why we are here, and Turkey is sponsoring the building of a mosque in Ghana. Why is Turkey doing that? Because they realize that when you build a place for God, as a nation, we are here, another nation is sponsoring the building of a mosque, and we are raising funds, building our own cathedral, and it is now a controversy. I think that there is a blessing in it, and so our people should understand that we cannot skip the blessings that go with that.
Right, so you mentioned earlier some of the names of the trustees for the cathedral. Can you help us? You mentioned...
The chairman of the trustees is Bishop Santientwi, who used to be the chairman for the Methodist Church.
Right.
We have Archbishop Palmer Bakal, who is the vice chair. We have, I'm the member secretary. We also have Professor Mate, who is also a member. We have Archbishop Ofe Akrofi, who is a member. We have Bishop Doug Howard Mills, who is a member. We have Reverend Isudanaba, who is a member. We have Archbishop Duncan Williams, who is also a member. We have Reverend Dr. Joyce Ayi, who is the only female member on the board. We also have Bishop Awotwe Pratt, who is a member. We also have Professor Frimpong Manson, the Ghana Pentecostal Council chairperson, and also the superintendent of the Assemblies of God, who is a member. We have Professor Onyina, who used to be the chairman of the Methodist of the Church of Pentecost, the past chairman, who is also a member. We have Professor Omenyo, the past leader of the Presby Church, who is also part of us. We are 14 in all, and these are all eminent men and women.
So Kosh has a question for you. He says, we didn't vote for the president to solve our spiritual problems, but the physical ones. So he should concentrate on that. And he goes on to say, this cathedral is a ruse to placate the Christian constituency for an electoral dividend.
I think he has the right to share his vision, but we are not politicians. We've never been politicians. We have a cause to pursue, and he could see it as such, but we are not doing this on political basis. I don't need anything from the government to survive. I survive through all governments, and by the grace of God, I have made the impact I need to make, not with the help of any government. No government can make us, and no government cannot make us. You talk to people like Reverend Archbishop Palmer Bakal, what does he need a government to do for him? Archbishop Duncan Williams, look at what Bishop Doug Howard Mills has been able to accomplish without the help of any government. We are not doing this because of any political point. We are doing it because we believe that it is time for this nation to recognize God by establishing a cathedral to give him honor and praise. It is not for political point.
Reverend Kusi Boateng, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, David.
Any final words? It's Daniel, anyway.
Daniel, thank you.
Final words before?
Thank you, Daniel. My final word is we are still doing the best that we can to get all the models ready for our platforms for people to give in terms of MTN, cash, or whatever. But as it is now, where we are well endowed is with our bank. Our major banks are ADB, Ghana Commercial Bank, and Fidelity Bank. You can walk to any branch or send them a text and say you are contributing towards the National Cathedral. Your money shall be kept safe because these are very credible, eminent men that are managing this concept and this whole project. And we promise you that within the next 5 years, this project will be done.
Thank you very much. And that's Reverend Victor Kusi Boateng. He is the Secretary to the Board of Trustees for the National Cathedral. And this is where we end the Pulse for today. My name is Daniel Daz.